Easter eggs in films are always a cool little inclusion. Sometimes they're really well hidden and other times they're really obvious, but here at Screen Rant, we love them either way. It's especially cool when we have to pause and look hard to see them, knowing they've been put there just for us. Today we're looking at some of the Easter eggs in Disney and Pixar films that we know they wanted us to see. Wait, before we get started, make sure to click the red button to subscribe for more great movie content. Also, can you guess what movie this is from the emoji? Let us know in the comment section below and stay tuned to the end of the video for the answer.
Voila! He is clean.
Finding Dory. Finding Nemo saw Nemo escape from the dentist's office via the pipes, which luckily had a very gross connection from the toilet to the ocean. The rest of the tank gang had an even less orthodox escape. They got out, sure, but they are stuck in plastic bags floating on top of the water. A year has rolled out between then and Finding Dory. At the end of the movie, the tank gang have managed to float themselves all the way from Sydney to California, still in their bags. As it's been a year, the bags are pretty gross, green, and covered in general ocean grime. Except one isn't. Jacques appears briefly and his bag is completely clean. He was the French shrimp who would religiously clean anything he could get in close range of. He kept the tank totally clean, so it should come as no surprise that he would give his little bag the same treatment. His need for clean paid off. The group do get rescued and freed from their bags from volunteers, and we imagine that Jacques was glad to have something else to clean, probably starting with his buddies.
These facts and opinions look so similar.
Don't worry about it. Happens all the time.
Inside Out. If you're watching a Pixar film, you can bet there's a Pizza Planet truck hidden in there somewhere. Sometimes it's clear to see, and other times you have to look a bit harder. No matter what though, it's there, sometimes even more than once. Inside Out falls into the times where it's a lot harder to find. The truck can be seen multiple times in the film though. It can be spotted on the train of thought in Riley's brain. It can also be seen hidden within the memory orb. This particular version is a bit harder to spot, and it took some seriously eagle-eyed fans pausing it to find it this time. The memory orbs are used a few times to hide Easter eggs, including once where a playground looks a lot like one from Toy Story 3. Both memories are yellow, meaning they're good ones. This also supports the theory that Pizza Planet makes some seriously good pizza. Only good pizza gets yellow. This would also explain why Riley is so unimpressed by the broccoli pizza she gets when she first moves to San Francisco.
That's it. I'm done.
Congratulations, San Francisco! You've ruined pizza!
Seriously, people who thought pineapple was an abomination to pizza, we think we've got bigger pizza troubles to unite against. Well played, Pixar. Well played. Moana. Moana is chosen by the ocean in order to save the world from the destruction of Tika. By reuniting Te Fiti with her heart, she employs the help of the reluctant demigod Maui and his very catchy musical numbers. If you say that You're Welcome didn't just start playing in your head, you're probably lying. Before their quest gets fully underway, they have to retrieve Maui's magical hook, warranting a full quest all of its own. The hook gives them the power to do quite a few things like turn into animals. When they do manage to get the hook back, Maui is a little rusty with it. It's been a while, like a millennium or so, since he last used the thing after all. He begins to transform into animal after animal. One of those is pretty familiar too. As he goes along, he turns himself into Sven, the clumsy but loyal reindeer from Frozen, which came out a few years before. He was a beloved character then, and it was great to see him in this little Easter egg in Moana. If the idea of getting a sneak peek at Sven wasn't enough for you to pause the film, the expression of Sven, Maui's face at that point, makes the whole thing worth it.
Let's go home and play.
Toy Story 3. In the first Toy Story film, we were introduced to Sid, an 11-year-old kid who already had sociopathic tendencies and lived next door to a much nicer Andy.
We are gonna die. I'm out of here.
He did normal kid stuff like terrorize his little sister and destroy toys by explosions, burning, and the like. It can be argued that he's not as evil as we're led to believe. To us and the toys in the movie, he's awful, torturing and killing them. You can argue that he didn't know that the toys were alive at the time, but a kid doing that regardless is still a pretty frightening thought. Towards the end of the film, the toys manage to terrify the evil out of him, and he swears to never torture a toy again. You know, now he's one of the few humans who actually know they're alive and all that. From there, we believe that that's that. We don't see him again. Except we do in Toy Story 3. As it happens, Sid is the garbage man who's seen singing along to metal music as he works, still wearing his signature black top with the white skull. So it's either him or the Punisher working a day job, but that doesn't quite sound right. Frozen. Thanks to all the events in Frozen that Hans had a hand in, we wanted to inflict violence on him, and clearly we weren't the only ones. When he gets to his feet, Anna steps in, punching him so hard that he falls backwards into the water. To applause. And it was a nice punch. Get that girl on the Arendelle boxing team.
Hands down, this is the best day of my life.
This isn't even the best part of the scene. If you pause it at the moment where her fist makes contact with his face, you can see that her hand has gone so far back that she must have broken every bone in his face. Her hand is literally in his eye socket. We can't stop pausing it right there. How do you feel about getting another cheeky little Hans-shaped Easter egg while you're here? Hans actually appears a couple of times in Big Hero 6. He appears on a wanted poster on the wall of the police station and also as a statue. We don't know why he kept popping up, but we can only imagine he's a guide of how not to hero.
Ariel! How you doing, kid? Whoa, what a swim.
The Little Mermaid. There's a lot to talk about in terms of what people have found in The Little Mermaid. There was the whole thing about the shape of the castle and the minister's bulge that they swear is just a knee. Those aren't the ones that Disney want us to look at though, and we're going to use this entry to check out the one that they put there for our viewing pleasure. Over the course of almost a century, Disney has put a lot of movies out, and it all started with a little mouse. And it's this mouse that we see in The Little Mermaid, and he brought some of his friends along. As Triton makes an entrance into a packed out hall, we see that Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy are on the guest list, and we'd like to imagine that their wives are off mingling. We do have one question though. How are they breathing? We guess Disney really is magic. The three are some of the most iconic characters the company has ever created, so it was nice to see the gang back together at the party. It's always nice when Disney makes reference to their own characters, but this has got to be one of the most beloved. A Bug's Life. It surprises a lot of people to know that A Bug's Life is inspired by 7 samurai, with Flick looking for warriors to rescue his home from evil grasshoppers. When Flick finds the circus bugs, he thinks they're the warrior bugs he's been looking for, and they go with him because they think he was a Talon agent. Did anyone in this movie know who anyone else was? Yikes. This whole thing runs on mistaken identity. This paused moment doesn't though. PT Flea's circus travels via a wagon led by 2 millipedes. It's a cool nod to how traveling circuses got about way back in the day, but with horses. Humans being pulled by millipedes would have taken too long. Not only that, but it also hides a few Dumbo references. You can't do one circus without honoring the last. The wagons are made out of Casey Jr. cookie boxes, made by a company called J. Grant Bakery. Casey Jr. was the name of the wheezy train that pulled up the WDP circus train. J. Grant is Joe Grant, the co-writer of Dumbo. Grant made a lot of amazing contributions to Disney, so it's great to see his name pop up here.
That's not all I can do. La, 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 la.
Brave. Ever since Brave was released, the Witch's Hut has been under some serious scrutiny. Realizing that the pay rate for witchcraft was actually pretty low, the witch took upon wood carving as her main profession. And it's here that things get awesome. By this point, Pixar knew their fans liked having little Easter eggs to pause and find. Pixar have never been ones to disappoint with little details like that and gave us a lot to look at in the Witch's Hut. For a start, a lot of the carvings are bear related. It sets up a lot of the story, foreshadowing what happened to both Merida and Eleanor and Mordu. It also gives us an indication that her magic is largely based around bears, perhaps entirely. Then there's the part we know you're waiting for, the Pixar references. Pixar's famous A113 is seen on the hut's doorframe in Roman numerals. And there's a carving of the Pizza Planet truck on her woodtop. How else could they have gotten into medieval Scotland? She also has a carving of Sully made up of a Celtic knotwork design. Monsters University was the next film that Pixar were due to release, and it's a really cool reference to that. Pixar never disappoints. The Princess and the Frog. The Princess and the Frog was the last of Disney's animated princess movies to be done in hand-drawn animation, and boy did those guys have it go out with a bang. The movie's bad guy is an evil Bokor or witch doctor specializing in dark voodoo magic with a little help from his friends on the other side. He quickly became a fan favorite. He manages to lure Prince Naveen and Lawrence into his lair, and from there he gets one of the greatest villain songs to ever grace the screen in a Disney movie. The visuals that accompany it are incredible. We can't praise the sequence nearly enough. There are dancing voodoo dolls, singing, glowing masks, and glowing colors. If you look closely, the wallpaper behind his living shadow turns into skulls. We weren't kidding when we said they went all out. At one point in the song, he summons some of these spirits, and their shadows float around him and are cast on the wall. If you look closely, one of them is pretty familiar, because it's the shadow of Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. We need to have some serious words with Jack about what doors he goes knocking about through. The Incredibles. Mr. Incredible is so busy doing super stuff that he ends up being late to his own wedding, leaving his wife to be at the altar. He doesn't just leave his wife waiting, but an entire group of other supers. If you pause, you'll get to see a real treat. The attendees of the wedding are Edna Mode, fashion designer to the supers, Rick Dicker, who helped settle them into normal lives, and the superheroes Gazer Beam, Dyna Guy, Stratogale, Metaman, Thunderhead, and of course Frozone. With the exception of Gazer Beam, all of them only appeared when Edna was listing their fates at the hands of their capes. Yeah, no wonder Edna Baena took them away. She must have felt awful. Fun fact, superheroes only wore capes because it helped the comic artists to show movement. The Incredibles is an homage to the genre and shines a light on a lot of the issues that sometimes get brushed aside for the sake of storytelling, like lawsuits, secret identities, and of course, capes. They are really dangerous, guys. If any of you are thinking of becoming supers, remember to have a costume without a cape, because we like to see you on all our videos. That's all we've got time for today. How many of these had you noticed before? Let us know in the comment section below and let us know what your favorite pause moments are, whether we mention them today or not. Also, remember to like this video and click the subscribe button for more great content. Oh, and the movie emoji was? Did you get it right? From us at Screen Rant, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.